This is Richard back at you guys. We got Eddie's 94 Dodge in the house, 4-wheel drive, 12 valve. You got to love them 12 valves, guys. They make a lot of power with a little bit of nothing. But anyway, I'm not sure the problems that he was having, if he was having any problems with it or not, but he brought it to us to have it gone through, put the triple disc converter, a Sonnax input shaft, some really nice other Sonnax products too that's going to go in the tranny. Actually, a lot of stuff. So, but you can tell it looks original. Doesn't look like it's been out in a while. Got the original torque converter with the factory lugs on it. Now these lugs are bad about breaking off and cracking. And when they do, they start to, almost looks like that one's cracked already a little bit right through there. It's hard to tell, but.
Hard to tell, yeah.
But anyway, like I said, these lugs break off, start leaking fluid. Next thing you know, you think it's leaking out of the front when it's physically not. Put this rag in there really quick. Now, like I said, this is an early style 518 3-wire. If you look down in the connector, it's only got 3 wires. Pins, it'll have a positive and 2 negatives, 1 on each side.
And she's wet.
So, yep, she is definitely full of fluid.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely know we have to change the wiring harness in town, or inside in town. Yeah, I want to go to town. But anyway, this physically has a governor system on the back of the output shaft here in the overdrive section. It does not have a governor pressure sensor and solenoid, so we'll get a little bit farther into that here in just a second. But this one here, instead of having a TV motor on the side, it has your TV cable here. So basically, this transmission, the 3-speed part of it, is cable controlled, TV controlled. Now when it goes into overdrive in 4th gear, the computer is physically grounding the overdrive solenoid or the lockup solenoid, depending on what it's commanding. So. Now how we adjust these TV cables is it's real simple to get adjustment on these. What we do is like to put the vehicle on the floor inside the cab, and then we adjust this to where it's pulling it all the way back, where you can take and put the cable right on it. So a pretty simple way to adjust them. But I do got a story to tell though. We had a gentleman travel in yesterday.
From Utah.
From Utah on number 3 transmission. Just like this, number 3. 12 valve. The first transmission went out, it started pulsating lockup in 4th gear on, and it burnt the tranny up. Well, then he had the tranny rebuilt by a shop, and it still did the same thing when he picked it up, and he kept taking it back, and they couldn't ever figure out what was wrong with it. So next thing you know, down the road, this tranny goes out too. So he's basically on his 3rd tranny inside of his truck right now. So he showed up here yesterday. He showed me a picture of the pan, the magnet, stuff like that. It already looks pretty bad in the pan. Now, I don't know what type of rebuild they did, but he said he got it back from this shop, does the exact same thing. So, and what it does is when you're driving down the road, about 45 mile an hour on up, it'll start pulsating lockup on and off, and it starts pulsating overdrive on and off, both of them. Not just lockup, but both of them. It'll shift into 4th gear, it'll turn it off. It'll shift into 4th gear, turn it off. Shift into 4th, lock up, turn it off. I'm just back and forth. So I told him, I said, it's not going to be in the transmission because the tranny's physically being told to do it. So I went out on a test drive with him without a scanner, and I already been through this so many times. I knew what controlled the tranny up on the motor, how just everything about temp sensors, all kinds of things control that type of stuff. But I went up there and we backed it up, and I popped the hood on it, and the TPS switch on the side of the throttle body, or on the side of the motor, had 2 screws in it. One of them didn't fit at all. It was just about that far of being tight, and the other one was about that far sticking out, but it wasn't tight. And you could grab the TPS switch and just shake it around. So I went in there and I repaired them 2 bolts right there, tightened it down, and I told him, I said, sir, I don't know if this is going to fix it or not. He had to go on. Where's he headed to, Teresa? Houston or somewhere?
He was going to Dallas, and then, and I don't know what he was doing, but
He was hitting the highway again.
Yeah.
And like I said, you get up on the highway with this thing, it's just constantly doing this. And he said about 70 or so, it'll finally try to settle down and quit doing it, but not totally just stop. But anyway, I told him, I said, hey, if it fixes it, call me back, let me know, because we really definitely want to know. And I'll be dang, he calls me back and he said, Richard, it fixed it. He said, I cannot believe 3 transmissions later, and I have to bring it to you to get it fixed. And to me, I believe, even though it was loose a little bit, I think that it has to be grounded through those 2 bolt circuits, to the 2 bolt holes there. And once I grounded it, the glitching went away and it fixed his problem. So he says he's going to come back and take us to a steak dinner. I can't wait for that. That's going to be yummy, let me tell you.
Well, and he's also going to come back and we're going to go through his
Actually, yes.
transmission.
Yeah, because like I said, when he showed me pictures of the pan and the magnet already from this overhaul, it's probably got the overdrive clutch, the converter clutch, or something almost cooked out of it already. So now we have our intermediate band adjustment here. You know, your instructions on your Transgo overhaul kit will give you different adjustments on this band here and your reverse band, depending on what year. And then you have your band anchor right here. Get this all the way out. It's pretty long.
I'm going to be a popsicle.
Yeah, it's pretty cold back here. I think it was like 5 degrees when we left the house this morning.
Yeah, so if the camera moves around, sorry.
She's shaking.
I'm shaking.
See what that looks like there. Another in here. Now we've already got the cover off that gets down to your inspection to where your big bearing is. Your snap ring right through here. Now down in here is where we have a lot of issues of wearing in the case, where the snap ring sets down in here. Let's see if I can see any wear down in here.
I can't really see anything.
Screwdriver. See, sometimes you get a lot of wear and sometimes you don't. And if you look there, no wear at all in there. That's hard to believe.
Really good. Yeah.
Looks really good down in there. Even though we don't have no wear, we will still put a case saver back here in the back. Once we do that, it pushes everything forward, tightens it up a little bit, and then you really got to check your in clearances and stuff. So, but it works really good that way. No more case wear or anything like that. So. Of course, we have our overdrive piston right here. Now this piston does 2 things. It'll apply the overdrive clutch and push off the engine brake clutch, or the direct clutch, excuse me, back here in the overdrive unit. So it actually does 2 things at one time. We'll get this little wire off here that holds your overdrive clutches in. Now if you notice here, you can see your governor tubes. Since this does not have a governor pressure sensor and solenoid, it's physically going to have a governor back here on the back of the output shaft here. Now you can see your overdrive clutches there. Getting pretty hot. And then we're going to take out our wavy snap ring first. Try to stand this up. You see in there, Teresa? You can see here where they have the opening of the snap ring right in here. You definitely don't want it in here, but we try to put it over into here where both tips of the snap ring are under a ledge right there. You definitely do not want to put it over here in the opening because these will physically break off right here. And then we have a flat snap ring down in here. Same thing. You don't want to line them up like this, but you can put them in there like that and still get both tips underneath the case instead of out in the opening. So. Now you can see there where I was talking about the overdrive snap ring. not the overdrive snap ring, but the governor and the governor ring, governor assembly, and all that type of stuff on the back there. Trying to stop that oil from draining. You can see here's our governor. Got 2 valves in here. I'll take it apart a little bit for you real quick. Now basically what you do is you got a chamber here and a chamber here, and they're separated through the rings, and they come out the end of these tubes right here. They go down in here, and there's a sleeve down in there that those rings seal against, okay? Come on off there. There we go. Now you still can't get this off yet, even though it's loose. You can't get it out of there because you got to pull this pin right here. Don't want to lose your little keeper there. Okay. And then you'll pull this pin, and then you'll have a governor valve on the end here. You can actually start to see quite a bit of wear there. Want to look at that. And then also, being that this is a diesel, it's going to have a really, really heavy governor weight right here to make it shift early like a diesel is supposed to shift. Take this out. Now this is going to be a brass slug right here. I mean, you would not believe what that weighs. Now your normal gasoline ones, they'll be like aluminum style. They won't be hardly any weight to them at all. But the diesel ones have to have this heavy brass one. That way it makes it shift out at really early speeds. Definitely want to look for any type of wear in here. When you see that type of wear, you want to look in here for wear. So you got to be really careful.
Don't lose none of that stuff that he's fixing to cover up.
I'm telling you. Throw all this stuff over here. We'll take that apart here in just a second. Now also down in here, this snap ring that holds all the overdrive section together down here in the back, you want to pull it out and look at it. Because a lot of times, this snap ring has a lot of wear on it. You'll see it through here. You'll flip it over. Not so much here, but a lot of times it's even wore on the back. Since we didn't see much wear on the back in the case in there, I didn't really want to expect to see it here. But if you have wear in the case, the back of the snap ring is going to be really wore out through here and here. So you have to replace the snap ring too. So quite a bit to it. Of course, we had a temperature sensor here on the train the customer had in there. And then there's actually on this one here, there's one in the cooler line. The one in the cooler line has to physically work because without it working, your lockup and your overdrive will not work on this unit. It does work off the temperature sensor there. So now he is getting a really nice ATS deep pan over there. Get that old stock pan off there. That's a really big upgrade. The pan don't look too bad. Kind of looks recently serviced though.
I see a little sparkle in there.
Yeah, got a little bit of gold in there. Of course, this is an early style filter, 727 3-speed style. Of course, early style here too. If you put a later shallow pan filter in there, I'm not sure if it'll fit. So we always go back with the high pressure or the high flow ones anyway. So, excuse me. Now, if you notice here, We just have a overdrive solenoid and a lockup solenoid. We do not have the governor pressure sensor and solenoid that would normally be out here on the end on the later versions. We just have a red wire, positive, and 2 ground wires coming from the computer down here. I thought I had something over here I could show them real quick. Not sure what I did with them all. Okay, here's the design here. Gives you an idea. Okay, here we go. Normally this would be if you had the later versions, you'd have a governor pressure sensor and solenoid that would mount here like this. The earlier design went to a round solenoid here, but if you had an aftermarket style high pressure system, it would look like this, where they use a General Motors pressure control solenoid for a governor pressure solenoid. A little different. Gives you an idea of what they kind of look like. Of course, the valve bodies are pretty much not identical, but they're basically the same. You know, they function the same and stuff like that. But this wiring harness is definitely different. You notice there's no temperature sensor in the harness neither, where your later versions have the temp sensor in here. Well, this one here physically has it out in the cooler line. So, and it does physically have to work. If it doesn't work, then you're not going to have no overdrive or lockup. We have our overdrive accumulator here. A lot of times these springs are broke. Yeah, a lot of times is right. Of course, our Transgo kit will come with 3 springs that goes in here.
Look at that.
You got to look in here too, make sure the bore's not beat up, because a lot of times these springs will get in there and bounce around and destroy the valve body. Got to make sure they're good. Now this valve body does have alignment bolts, and it's these 2 corner ones right here. You start them first, put them in, tighten them down with your hands, whatever, and then you start putting the rest of them in. Then start torquing them from the inwards out. In, out. Of course, we have our overdrive valve body and our lockup valve body. Your Transgo kit will come with a lot of parts that goes in here. And you notice here, we have no check ball like our later versions have. We'll have a check ball here, and they'll have a dual hole here, and they have a little trough right in here. So these are definitely different in the valve body area. Plus the valve body plate, it has a little hole here in the later versions of 47, 48 REs, where they did away with it on this unit. You can identify it by your Transgo kit. We'll ask you all kinds of questions about this. Now also right here, the Transgo kit comes with a plate for a reason, and it's mainly because of the check ball beats the plate out right here, like this one has. So I just beat it out, fixing to shove the check ball all the way through. And it's because they got metal check balls in here, where the later versions have the plastic ones. But we'll go back with the plastic ones. We have them by the dozens over here. Get rid of the metal, and we'll use the metal one somewhere else. You see here, I don't know why they didn't just put these in that plate too, but they didn't from the factory even. But you have one check ball here that's larger than all the others in this big trough. All the rest of them are the same. gonna splash you. Of course, now we are going to be putting a 4-land switching valve in here, a new Sonnax pressure regulator valve, full lube valve, a new Sonnax manual valve in here. So once you do those steps right there, you've got a really good valve body. Just a few things makes a big difference.
Squeegee.
Of course, we have our intermediate accumulator. Now you can get dual ring style. I have some over there that we can put in here. Still waiting on a few items to come in. We didn't get it, but Dallas and Fort Worth got a lot of ice and snow, and a lot of our parts come out of there. And so this morning we're kind of running around here waiting for parts a little bit, and yesterday. Got your band anchors here, struts. Okay. Of course, we'll knock the shifter seal out real quick. Got to get that out of there. Always want to replace them, and we always glue these in too. That way they can't leak around the body. Pump bolts. Now your pump bolts always have a washer on them that have rubber on both sides of the washer to seal it, but we still put a little bit of sealant on those anyway. Of course, we have our metals. Now on your diesels, you're going to have a stainless ring here from the factory. On your gas, you're going to have a metal. Now you can find stainless rings and put on here. Big upgrade, but we're going to be going with the high pressure Teflon ring on here that Transgo has in their kits. So, but if you've got some stainless ones around there and you're not putting a kit in or something, put the stainless ones on there. Work a lot better. Of course, on our pump stator, you always want to replace this bushing right here. You want to look down in here for any type of sealing ring wear or this bushing being bad and letting the drum rub in here. You want to look at that. You want to look both sides of your pressure and your suction side on your stator. Still looks good. Even though we got the bluing gone a little bit, that still looks really good. Scotch Brighted up here. Now this is a selective washer right here. That's how you set some of your clearances. We got our pump gears here. And some of your pump gears you'll get in will have like a square cut on this side and a chamfer cut on this side. And you want to know which way they go in. I mean, if you notice, it'll go in either direction on this one here. On the chamfered ones, it's on this side here. I always put the chamfer going towards the outer side. So, same way here. You want to look for any type of wear down through here. This is a really good looking pump. Put some new gears and stuff in there. Got your dimpled bushing. See, we're starting to wear. That's normally you see stuff like that. That's kind of like flywheel flexing. I think he's got this truck turned up a little bit. I'm really not for sure. And you get flywheel flexing, will cause your converter to move, push on your bushing, all kinds of stuff. So. Of course, we have our intermediate band, just a stock band. We have our reverse high drum, second gear band drum. You can call this multiple things, but your second gear band goes around it. Your high reverse clutch is inside. Now we do have a wavy snap ring here. Being on this type of unit here, we'll be getting rid of that. Putting this 350K snap ring, it fits in there really good. But you notice we've only got a 4 clutch high gear though. We've got to at least get one more clutch in there. We want at least a 5 in there. We do have a high groove drum for the snap ring, but we've got to get 5 clutches in this drum, and there is a way to do it. You want to look here for any type of bushing or sealing ring wear. Place your bushing. 180 grit. I have another video I showed everybody how to take some I always want to say 180, but some 80 grit emery cloth. Sit here and clean that drum up really good. Of course, we have our forward drum here. We have another selective washer that goes here. We got our lockup sealing rings here. We got our forward ring here. Now your shift kit's going to come with a green Teflon ring here. Get rid of that. They only make one ring like this, and it's a little cheap metal one, unless you put a kit in it. Now this has a metal ring here, but our shift kit, or not a shift kit, but our overhaul kit could come with Teflon here. And that's I'd rather have the Teflon than the metal. Of course, we're going to be replacing this drum here and shaft with the Sonnax one, so it's going to be really nice. Got a 4 clutch forward, which is fine. That's plenty of clutches to move it forward. Even chipped up really high, you can get away with 4 clutches. Of course, we have a plastic washer, spacer washer, what do you call that?
Crazy.
Yeah. They make metal ones in the real early ones. They set in it like that and set on there like that. But it's hard to get the metal ones. Of course, we'll be replacing this drum here. And then, of course, we have our forward piston here with our sealing rings, or seals, excuse me. I don't know why that one's got a little bit of blue color to it.
I don't know.
Always check your check balls and make sure they rattle after you clean your piston. Now we always, all of our parts are hand washed. We don't put nothing in the parts washer but the case. So we check all that stuff really thorough. But I'll kind of give you an idea how we're going to get 5 clutches in this drum real quick. We're going to stack this back up just like this. Okay, I'm going to grab, let's see where my stuff's at. What did I do? There they are. That's why I was. What I'll do is I'll grab another steel and I'll grab another clutch and set it in there like that. Let's see what we got. Well, so far that's not going to work yet neither. So let's see what we got to do here now. Well, that was in there. That's why that fell in there. I was kind of thrown off by that not working.
Yeah.
I was going, well, that ain't going to work. Well, I know it works because we've done it. Okay. We've got our extra clutch and steel in there. And you see here how we still below the snap ring groove. Well, you can take this forward apply plate right here that sets down the forward drum. See the difference in them, how thin that is right here, how thick that is. Now you can get that in there just like that. And then you can grab a 350K snap ring, which is this one right here. They always got yellow paint on them. And it'll fit down in there just like that. Now we got 5 clutches in this drum. But the problem we have is, this is sticking up so high right here now that this can actually rub on this right here. So when this is all together, it sets like this. What we do is we put it all together and then we start air checking this 3rd gear drum. If this 3rd gear drum, when I air check this clutch, it picks up on this drum like this, then we know it's going to rub here no matter what. So we'll chuck it up and we'll cut probably 1/8 of an inch off this backing plate right here all the way around. And it'll be plenty strong enough still, but it gives us the gap we need to keep it from rubbing right here. That's the only way you're going to get 5 clutches in this drum. Now, if you can find a thin plate or something and put in there, it'd probably work, but it'd probably bow. But that's how we do it. We'll come in and cut this down, put it all together, assemble it, air check it, make sure it doesn't lift up on this drum here. We're good to go. We got plenty of clearance. So, pretty simple. I mean, these trannies take a long time to build because we're trying to make them so much better, so we're messing with a lot of areas. Of course, we have a selective 3-tab washer here. They make 3 different thicknesses here. Got your stainless sits there. Now you notice, of course, that we've got aluminum planets all the way through this thing. Of course, that's a no-no, you know that. Especially if him going to be chipping this thing up. It's not so much the aluminum planet in the back, it's the aluminum planet in the front. This planet right here will hold a ton of load, a ton. The washers around it won't hold a ton, but everything else will. But what happens is this aluminum planet right here will strip. It'll strip right in here. Normally we see these in gasolines only, but in some of the early diesels they put them in there. And why they got them to last is because they got the truck turned down so much, got the torque turned down so much that it won't bust it. But when you start putting a fuel plate in this Dodge, you put a turbo on it and all that type of stuff, this is the first thing that's going to strip. It's going to bang right off the bat. So we're going to upgrade that to 6-pinion steel planets. We're going to call him back and talk to him about a bunch of things that we're going to be needing to do to this to make it work. Of course, here on the back, you can see here we have a 4-pinion planet. We can already see we have a lot of pulling on the planet, the aluminum right here, trying to pull it off. There's a thrust washer right here.
Looks like it's been chewed up.
Yeah, a lot of metal got in here and it just starts chewing it up. There's a lot of load right here when the vehicle takes off in the first gear, especially if you're pulling a trailer or something. So, but what we need to do is we need to upgrade all this to steel, Planetary's big Sonnax high impact washers and stuff like that, and get rid of all this aluminum. There's a lot to do in it though. I mean, you got to change your sun gear, you got to change your shell. There's a lot of things you have to do. But you can see the difference in the washer. Let me go over and grab a Sonnax washer, and you'll see the difference in these washers. Now, you can't just stick this washer in there. These are 6-tab. They got 6 keepers on them. Keeps them from spinning. But you can see the difference. See? On your 6-pinion planet, your steel, you got that washer there. And you got this one there for steel. That's aluminum. Not much change here, but a high impact washer. Okay? But when you get down here, the one that sets on the planet, this is how big they went. See, that went there. Now they got this big one. You have to change this washer here because it's a narrow washer. You got to put a big plant washer or a tab on it. See, like that. Same way here. They don't let the planet be the washer and put the, well, where'd Mother Pete's go? There it is, excuse me. They don't put that like this. The washer physically runs on the hub here, the ring gear, like that. Sets on the planet. So this locks onto the shaft, doesn't let it turn. So it keeps it from spinning. See, that doesn't spin. Now your washer just runs on that, or your planet just runs on that. There's no washer. So, but there's a lot to do to change it over to this. I mean, you really got to know what you're doing. It's a lot of work. But we would rather do that and make the unit right than having to worry about it. Because once they say they're going to chip a Dodge, we already know the torque's coming, all that type of stuff, and it's capable of breaking anything. Of course, we got a reverse drum here. The band goes around. Now, back here in our support, back here in the back of the case, anytime you get trash coming through your cooler, out of your converter, or anything like that, it's going to come back in here and get in here. And you just seeing where it starts chewing it up. Of course, we have our reverse band here. Start to see where it starts flaking. We have our lower sprag assembly, roller clutch, same thing. Of course, I didn't pull out the support here in the back of the case. You can see here, starting to melt it here, trash getting in there. Now when we get a new case support, we like to up the hole size here just a little bit, get a little bit more oil in there as much as we can. Now, since this one does have a governor on the output shaft, you will not be putting the plugs in here. Now, if it had a 48 RE with a governor on the valve body, then you'll be putting 2 plugs in the back side of here on your new support to plug it off. Pretty simple. Guys, we got our intermediate servo here, our reverse servo here. Find some screwdrivers, get this stuff apart. Now, being that this had a double wrapped band in the back, this is going to have the small servo that applies it. If it was a single wrap, it would have a lot bigger servo back here. This is a real small one compared to the ones that are that big around.
Throw it in the pile.
Throw it in the pile. And we have our intermediate servo here.
Yeah, you sprayed in the face and not me.
Yeah, because it's full of fluid in there.
Yes, I know.
It is full.
Yeah, you're going to push it down and it's going to squirt.
I'm worried about it. Let's see. Okay, there we go.
Ooh.
Okay, this is our intermediate servo here. Now there physically is an O-ring down in here too. A lot of people don't even know about. And it's designed to soften the band apply and the kick down part of it. And what they got is a little tiny hole right there. See that little tiny hole?
Mm-hmm.
And right down in here is a spring and an O-ring. Now some of your shift kits will have you drop a slug down in here, and you put that down here, that way it blocks this. It just makes it solid. Race car applications, heavy trucks, stuff like that, you can do that. But you got to be careful because it does firmen the shift up quite a bit. And sometimes you can get harsh downshifts from it. So we don't ever block it unless it's a drag race car. Change the seal, clean all the trash out, because a lot of times there can be a lot of trash in here. You notice you plug that little hole, you can't even...
You can't barely get that. Yeah, it's got a suction.
When I said plug a hole, you can't pull it out.
Yeah.
So pretty simple. Well guys, here's another 518. Ton more work to go. We got cars all over the place, don't we, Teresa?
Yeah.
Definitely. We want to thank you for recording, Teresa. We got Annie over there hanging out, staying warm. So guys, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. We got a Corvette tranny coming. That's going to be a really good one too. So stay tuned.